the other issue for discussion today, because you see, in Rivers State, a long-running feud between former governor and federal minister Nyesom Wike and Governor Simlai Fubara has shaped politics for years. President Tinubu recently mediated a reconciliation that many saw as requiring significant concessions from Fubara, and now questions swirl over whether unity or imbalance was achieved. In fact, in one of the stories that I read earlier, Governor Simlai Fubara was dedicated his award, the leadership award, to Nyesom Wike as the one who discovered him. How do you explain the Tom and Jerry kind of relationship that has been going on between Governor Simlai Fubara and Wike, and the recent rapprochement, so to speak, between both of them?
I've always demanded that the governor of Rivers State should stoop to conquer. What I've seen him do now was what I advised him to do a long time ago. But every time we give the advice, some hawks around him will go and mislead him, and he will not do it. What is the point in having an old man like the president call you people to a meeting? The matter gets resolved, and you will not honor your own side of the bargain. If you get into agreements with people, you should be obligated to honor those agreements. The House of Assembly in Rivers State, immediately the governor resumed from suspension in inverted commas. They told him that they were waiting for him to present a list of his commissioners and other political appointees. This governor refused since the time when he got back to work. He refused to present any list. Now, they are going to see that as an act of disrespect, because consistently you would not take your list to them, a list of your commissioners and other appointees. Instead, you are using special advisors because you knew you would face difficulties with clearing those political appointees. You are using special advisors, a few special advisors. You refuse to go and present your appropriation bill before the House. I mean, you want them to continue to think that you respect them. In politics, we make concessions. Yes, as a governor, you are bigger than them, but you deserve to show them respect. But these were the same people that the governor demolished their assembly complex. So now what he has done after this last meeting with the president, because I kept saying that I knew the president would resolve the issue. I kept saying it. I was confident because the president is not prepared to lose either of them. He knows that both men are critical to his electoral fortune. So he wants both men. He does not want to lose either of those men. So if anybody thinks the president will sacrifice Wike for Fubara or sacrifice Fubara for Wike, that person does not understand the president. So these fourth accord or rapprochement that they had is the result of the dissolution, is what led to the dissolution of the Rivers ESCO that the governor has just done. And in dissolving this ESCO, he is going to constitute a proper ESCO rather than running the state with a few men and women. So it's going to constitute a proper ESCO, which will also be made up of loyalists of his godfather and other stakeholders. The list would then be submitted to the House for clearance. So this is in my view, one of the significant concessions, one of the significant steps that the governor has taken so that this can happen. So after this list has been submitted and those people cleared, the governor will now proceed to present his appropriation bill to the House of Assembly. So some of the commissioners that will emerge, as I said earlier, some of them will be loyalists of the Minister of FCT. So by taking
Hello, all right.
these
I'm
steps,
afraid.
the governor, the impeachment, taking these steps, you can hear me, right?
Yes, carry
Hello?
on. We can hear you.
You can? Okay. So by taking this step, the governor has given the assembly a reason to believe that the impeachment is not necessary, because some of the reasons for which they were trying to impeach him is addressing those issues now. You know, we had previously accused the governor of refusing to honor previous agreements reached during their previous meetings, including changes in key government positions. So by trying to expand the scope of the state, the governor is already making it clear to Nyesom Wike, the assembly members, that look, I am taking steps to correct some of the anomalies that made the Rivers problem so intractable. And I learned that the president had harsh words for both men. He doesn't want to be involved in resolving disputes anymore because, frankly, he has tried his best. Now, if both men will be responsible, they should be able to have a common ground. Wike has to sustain his stance, and the governor needs to honor the agreement that they reached in the presence of the president. By not honoring those agreements, he is actually disrespecting the president. That point has to be made, you know. So I want to believe that this time around, peace will be achieved in Rivers State, given that these concessions have been made by the governor. It was refreshing to hear him dedicate the New Telegraph Man of the Year award presented to him to the FCT minister as the person who discovered him, as the person who put him where he is currently. So that is another good sign that Fubara is prepared to do whatever it takes to ensure that peace reigns in the relationship
That's right.
between him and the government and the
Yeah.
FCT minister.
Yeah. So, but some critics see Fubara's concessions, including political appointments for Wike's loyalists, as losing elements of democratic autonomy. When mediation looks like one side gaining significantly, do you think that really solves the root problem or simply paper over deeper divisions?
I don't know what you mean by one side gaining significantly. We've not seen the list. If we have seen the list, we can determine whether the list is dominated by Wike's people. But certainly, Wike's supporters will be in that in the cabinet, and the governor will also have his people. Power sharing is a normal thing in a democracy. It does not that you're chosen to share power with a critical stakeholder does not mean that you are weak or that democracy is on trial. After all, these were the people who helped him to win the election. If, for example, some of those local government chairmen that did their best to ensure that Fubara won the election were to be brought into the cabinet, will anybody say that it is wrong? Because they made sacrifices to enable him win the election. They made sacrifices. I remember when Bola Ahmed Tinubu became governor of Lagos State, some of the strong loyalists of Funshaw Williams, who contested the primaries, very rancorous primaries with him, were brought into the cabinet. People like Dr. Leke Piton, people like Kemi Nelson, they were brought into the administration. So power sharing is not a new thing. It's meant to deepen inclusion. Are people expecting only the governor's loyalists to be in the cabinet? I would expect a cabinet, I expect to see a cabinet that is really inclusive, bringing in people from civil society, politicians, technocrats, political stakeholders. That's the way it should be. And that is not in itself a threat to democracy. It shouldn't simply be Fubara's people alone. That should be in the administration. The state belongs to everyone. So it should be able to hunt people from across the board.
Interesting.
No.
Let me take some comments before we call it a wrap. David Briggs says, if peace returns to River State, that's a win. Investors don't like political drama. Amarachi Eze says, peace is good, but at what cost? Was this reconciliation or surrender? Ibrahim Sani says, President stepped in and stabilized the situation. Leadership sometimes means tough mediation. Blessing Tamuno says, Fubara had to choose between ego and stability. He chose stability. That's maturity. I think I love that um, rhyming sound. Oluwo Oluwole Oke says, BKO, do you think Wike will allow him go for a second term now that he's ready to calm down? Okay, BK will answer that in due course. Um, Nelson Adufe says, Fubara has gotten third chance to redirect a step, but this evil in him of not being 100% loyal he has displayed, he may not succeed in governance because he has always failed to bow to higher authority, whatever he meant by that. Akimbola Onile says, good evening, bro. Good evening, BKO and Ibrahim. It's obvious political cacophony intrigues between Wike and Governor Fubara should stop so Rivers citizens can enjoy good governance. Kudos to President Tinubu for his intervention. Okay, so BKO, how do you answer Oluwole's question asking whether you think Wiki will allow him to go for a second term now that he's ready to calm down? And how do you think these truths will also, adding my question, how do you think these truths will impact on governance in River State? Because the people of River State have, they've reaped badly from, this fight in terms of dividends of democracy or governance.
Okay, let me start with the last your question. It's all in Fubara's hands. If Fubara wants to focus on governance, he also knows that he does not need to distract himself anymore. He has distracted himself sufficiently by the needless fights that he's getting into. This matter will be resolved, he will start another one. Supreme Court will rule, he will start another one. He was running the just three individuals, was using three individuals to run the assembly. Come on. There's nowhere in the world where that was being done. And some funny lawyers were even defending it. Three persons. Oh, those ones have lost their seats and all that. Whereas you are not a court of law. You are not a court of law. You must wait for the court of law to declare that those seats have been lost. So Fubara has to do the needful. Keep his head down, focus on governance, and forget the distractions. I'm happy now that he's going to have a properly constituted state ESCO. Those ones will be able to help him to run the state, because such a big state, you can't run such a big state with a handful of special advisors because you didn't want to go before the House to have your commissioners cleared. I mean, it's utterly irresponsible. But now he has taken that step, he's taken the list before them. That's a significant way of showing the assembly that he respects them, and I'm sure that they too will reciprocate that. And the president, talking about the question of whether Wike will allow him to get a second term. Wike does not have the singular say in the matters of Rivers State. The president has a say. From the beginning, the president has a say. When the president moved in to declare a state of emergency, it was to stop Wike from impeaching the governor. Wike moved again to impeach the governor through his loyal assemblymen. The president again stepped in. What the president wants is for Fubara to get a second term, so that Fubara can also work for the president and deliver the state for the president. The president knows that Fubara has organic support and sympathy of Rivers people. The president is prepared to exploit that so that he too can win the presidential election in Rivers State. He needs Fubara, he needs Wike. And if Fubara does not get a second shake of the dice, what is the guarantee that Fubara will work for the president? So it's a case of you rub my hand, I rub yours.
If
the president
scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Oh, okay, that's the thing. Scratch my back, I scratch yours. You know, the president will prevail on Wike to let Fubara have a second term. And Fubara's actions in the next few months would determine whether they can trust him and allow him to do a second term. So it is in his own best interest to calm down, manage the situation very well, manage Wike's ego very well, and ensure that he gets a second term. But I'm confident that the president will put his foot down. All of the governors who have joined the APC, one thing I know is that the president guarantees them a second term. The Kano governor who left NNPP, it was because Kwankwaso had already sent signals that he would not back him for a second term because they have been quarreling for so long, just that Nigerians didn't know. That's right. But now that he's in the APC, is guaranteed of a second term. So Fubara's case will not be different. Mr. President will push and ensure that Fubara gets a second term. He knows that Fubara gets a second term. If Fubara gets the ticket of the APC, Fubara will also work for the president. He has no choice. So the president knows what he's doing. Politics is an interest-driven game. The president has his interest. Fubara has his interest. Those interests coalesce at some point, which will be a win-win situation for the governor of Rivers State.
Right. Interesting. Let me take this comment and then we'll call it a wrap. Queeneth Okore says, whatever they agreed on, I just hope civil servants get paid and projects continue. Suleiman Danjuma says the real question is whether this truce lasts beyond the next election cycle. Ifunaya Chuku says sometimes compromise is leadership, sometimes compromise is weakness. Time will tell which one this is. And then we have Gilbert Uwagbo says, no matter the repentance, Fubara is not to be trusted. Well, Sultan Shokunbi says, I don't trust Fubara politically. It might betray Tinubu next election. Well, let's leave that one to the politicians. Whatever it's on their minds actually belongs to them. Whatever they decide. Okay, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Otutoju, for those insightful analyses, as always.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you for the support. Once again, we are grateful for the way you have pushed us to be the second most watched program on YouTube at TVC for the month of January. This is a very remarkable achievement, our part, and it shows the expanding influence of our program and the loyalty of our viewers. So thank you for your support for us. We do not take it for granted.
Yeah, thank you so much once again to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition